Hello YouTube, Cephalopods, Arachnids alike. My name is MasterOfRoflness and I'm here to give you guys a faction breakdown. Well, not a faction breakdown, but an overview of the new 3 factions that just came out for Total War Rome 2. Now remember, this isn't a guide, this is just an overview, so let's get on to it. We're gonna go look at the units for each of the factions right now. We have the Giant Leaf faction, we have the 2 Deer faction, and we have the Octopus Deer faction. Now, right from the get-go, you can tell that all 3 of these factions only have cav units. Now, whether that's good or not depends on your opinion. Remember the campaign that the Giant Leaf faction was able to build spear units and melee infantry units, but those were probably mercenaries. Or maybe they've changed them to now only have horse units. I'm not sure. Now, whether you think that's good or not remains your opinion. I think it's good because these 3 factions actually are a new way to play the game, and it's pretty good. It's pretty fucking good. There are probably a lot of factions that can counter these 3 factions, but right now, from what I can tell, it's a new way to play the game, and we should herald that and love it forever instead of destroying it. Anyway, so right now we have the Giant Leaf faction. They contain shot cav and missile cav only, with a field artillery for a cock block good measure. Anyway, so Steppe Lancers, Steppe Armored Lancers, Steppe Noble Lancers, Saka Noble Armored Lancers, and we have the Saka Cataphracts. Now, all these units are straight up upgrades from the original Steppe Lancers, and from what we could tell, the Saka Cataphracts are actually the best Cataphract unit in the game in terms of melee defense, weapon damage, and melee attack. For charge bonus, it will be the Hellenic Cataphracts, but it's something to keep in mind. And from what we could tell, stuff like Parthia do have some problems with Cataphracts all around. As you can see, less weapon damage than the Saka Cataphracts. And for the Seleucid, we can see that we have more charge bonus. So something to keep in mind. It's something to really keep in mind when you're using the Saka Cataphracts. That, you know, you're using possibly the best Cataphract unit in the game. Congratulations.
Our general is under attack. Favor. We'll kill them all. The enemy general is dead.
Lancers! Back Saka Lancers!
We have discovered the enemy's hidden units. Our general is under attack.
Ready to ride! Take charge! Lancers! And riders forwards! Forwards! Gotcha! Advance at speed! And riders advance!
battle is turning in our favor.
Heavy horsemen!
Our general has fallen.
Prepare for your ancestors! As you say, Saka Lancers!
So now we have for Missile Cav the Steppe Horse Skirmishers. Now I would like to use Steppe Horse Skirmishers not for harassment, which some people will use, but instead as sort of a supporting killing blow unit. Now hear me out on this. When you have an enemy unit bogged down in the conflict, you can use those Steppe Horse Skirmishers to sort of whittle them down even more so. And with their high amounts of damage and low range, it would be a perfect fit. And high amounts of fire rates, that's pretty good. 8 shots per minute, 33 missile damage, and less range. Plus, if you combine that with flaming shots, go right up close to the enemy unit that's being bogged down in the conflict. Bam! You can annihilate him with horse skirmishers and your units, which is pretty good. I like that. So now we have the other units that are main used for bombardment and harassment. We have the Steppe Horse Archers, Armored Horse Archers, Noble Horse Archers, and Saka Cataphracts Horse Archers. Anyway, so now we have the 2 Deer faction. They have a lot of Shock Cav, Melee Cav, and Missile Cav. So let's get onto it. Steppe Lancers, Steppe Armored Lancers, Steppe Noble Lancers, and Sarmatian Royal Lancers. Now, from what we can tell, the Royal Cataphracts, or the Cataphract units for Monsieur Giant Leaf over here, are still really good Cataphract units. And really good infantry, I mean not infantry, but horse units that can kill infantry units and kill other units alike. However, the Royal Lancers do have an advantage in terms of charge bonus. And Lancers in general have an advantage in charge bonus. Look at these charge bonus statistics. My god, already Noble Lancers, less expensive than the Cataphract units, but even more charge bonus. So right now, from what we can tell for the 2 Deer faction, you're not supposed to use them like the Giant Leaf faction uses them, with, you know, bogged down in melee conflict and, you know, kind of just killing units left, right, and center by surrounding them and flanking them. Like, no. You flank, and that's all you do with this faction. You fucking flank, and then you annihilate with your melee cav. Now, the reason for that is because of their charge bonus capabilities and the output it pretty much gives out. So, I would suggest that what you do for this faction is to use these Shock Cav just to charge whatsoever, and then leave the battlefield instead of being bogged down in the conflict, and then charge again and attack. So, leave, charge, leave, charge, leave, charge, leave, charge. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Because this is the strength of the Shock Cav over here, and not being bogged down in melee conflict like the Giant Leaf faction. And you use your melee cav right over here, the Sarmatian Riders and the Sarmatian Horsemen, to get down and dirty in the bogged down melee conflict, while your Shock Cav go in and basically do killer charge attacks. So that's something to keep in mind by, you know, telling the differences between the Giant Leaf and the 2 Deer faction. That the Shock Cav are used completely differently than the other faction. Now the Missile Cav, however, is your standard run-of-the-mill Missile Cav. You know, Armored Horse Archers, Noble Horse Archers, Steppe Horse Archers, blah blah like. That's pretty much it. Now let's go to the Royal Scythians. So they have Steppe Armored Lancers, and then they have Steppe Noble Lancers. Now this faction, from what you can tell, is not a very good Shock Cav faction. And their melee cav is actually pretty solid all around for what it's worth. So honestly, getting melee cav and just spamming that, it's probably a really good strategy maybe. Now then we have missile cav for them, and it's pretty weird. So they have Steppe Horse Skirmishers, Steppe Horse Archers, Armored Horse Archers, Noble Horse Archers, Royal Horse Archers, which are better than all of them. And Royal Horse Archers are a pretty good solid unit actually. Again, though, it comes down to, do you want to spend more money on horse archers and stuff like that? It really does. Also, unlike all the other units, horse archers don't have their amazing ability of heavy shot. Now, I'll go back to what heavy shot does later on, but right now, let's look through the rest of the units. So, the last unit we have is the Scythian Royal Skirmishers. Now, these guys are the most powerful skirmishers of the 3 factions, and maybe possibly of the game. They have more fire rate, They have more health, more base morale. They have a lot of good melee attack, weapon damage, and charge bonus statistics. And melee defense is all around amazing for this faction. These guys are pretty good. And honestly, using these guys as a flanking force is much more viable than maybe even the Saka Cataphracts horse archers. Now, like I said beforehand with the other skirmishers, you use these guys against bogged down melee infantry. And honestly, for what it's worth, that 40 damage is going to annihilate fucking armies. Flaming shots. Ooh, deadly. So, oh, they even have a newer ability here. Let's see this Cataphract circle. This unit fires while riding in a circle. Harder to hit. Reload skill. Did I really say harder to hit? Okay. But harder to hit. My god. My god. And it seems like all these missile cav troops have the ability to do that. Let's see if the other factions have that ability. Rightfully so. So already we see a completely new ability that all these factions share that the other factions like Parthia, Egypt, and the Seleucids don't share. They can't go into Cataphract circle, and because of that, these nomadic factions are already more powerful than your average unit, which is pretty fucking good. They're also more powerful in another way as well. They have heavy shots. Now, heavy shot decreases range and accuracy, but it increases damage dramatically. So let's say you're using a skirmisher unit. Actually, no, wait, skirmisher units don't have heavy shot. That would be completely OP. Let's say you have a Saka Cataphracts horse archer unit. You get right up close to an enemy unit, pop your flaming arrows, pop your heavy shots. Fine. The accuracy is going to take a dramatic dip, but you get really close to them, fire your arrows, bam, you annihilate an entire force of units. Kind of like a shotgun. So already we can say completely new ways you could play use these factions. You can use them for an up-close shotgun burst. You can use them for charge bonus rampage for the 2 deer. Or you can use them for horse skirmishers galore. And with these Cataphract circles, these guys are going to be incredible. All 3 of these factions. So let's go ahead and go through the campaign mode, because that's probably really important to you guys. Alright guys, and we are back to show you guys the new campaign mode for these factions. And what's this? Nomadic tribes. Oh my god, a new tab! So all these nomadic tribes start off with marauders, which gives them 10 plus more income, 10% plus more income from raiding or sacking, which is pretty fucking good. You gotta go in Mongol style with these guys, okay? More raiding, more raising, less fucking occupying, which is good. They also have Horde, which increases army recruitment capacity in home province, which is pretty good. That's really good. So all these factions start off with a hard initial challenge, and that's rightfully so. They're right next to a big power that's coming up, Parthia, and they're also right next to each other as well. All these factions are right next to each other, and an inevitable war between Scythia or the 2 deer faction or the giant leaf faction will happen. It will fucking happen, so you gotta keep that in mind. So if you're playing as the 2 deer faction, you're going to be in a little bit of a more troubled spot than the Scythians or the giant leaf in terms of dealing with your other nomadic brothers, because they have major diplomatic penalties to other nomadic factions. But they have plus 5% more wealth from buildings, which is pretty good. Commerce buildings, I give up. They also have Peregrine Conquerors as another ability, which gives them 10% plus more melee attack during battles in foreign territory, which is pretty good. That's pretty good. So if you're on the offensive, these guys are probably the way to go. So now we have the Scythians, which have Scythian craftsmanship, plus 10% wealth from all industrial buildings, which is pretty good. But they also have major diplomatic penalties with all Hellenic factions. So facing off against Greek factions, Macedonian, or Seleucid faction, you're going to be in a tough spot. Actually, no, wait. Let's look at the Hellenic factions again. I might have... Where are the Hellenic factions? Wow, I completely forgot them. Ah, here we go. We got these guys, and then we got the successor states. So that's something to keep in mind as well when you're playing Scythia. Now, we have the Giant Leaf faction. They have Eastern diplomatic penalties, which is pretty bad, because right next to this faction is Parthia. Is fucking Parthia. So that's something to keep in mind, that this faction is going to have to fight against Parthia sooner rather than later. They have plus 20% wealth from livestock buildings, and they have fierce independence, plus 10% melee defense for all units during battles in own or allied territory. So these guys are good for defensive attacks, as well as just stocking up on cattle farms or just farms in general. These are a really good faction for agricultural buildings. Good faction for industrial buildings. Oh wait, I forgot to go over their other ability. Plus 1% experience rank for archer units. So as you can see, this is kind of how you play the faction. You play the faction in... So as you can see, all three of these factions have unique ways to play with them. And honestly speaking, not one way is similar to another. But you know what is similar? Raiding, raising, and using horse archers, baby. That's pretty much it for the nomadic factions. If you like this video, please like it. If you like more videos like this, subscribe and comment down below in order to get a free prize of a stripper coming to your house right now, right this way. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.